Today is Friday, January 3rd, and today I'm just wondering about the incredible arrogance of the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones.
For more than 3 decades, Bob's Steak and Chop House has remained an icon of DFW restaurants. Why? Well, maybe it's because of Bob. He's fanatical about cleanliness and friendliness, and his food, oh my Lord, his food. If you've been there, you know about it. If you haven't been there, you should know about it. The original Bob welcomes you at either of his 2 locations, Bob's on Lemon Avenue or the sparkling new Bob's at Craig Ranch, McKinney.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
We aim to turn your nest egg into a paycheck with half the amount you've been led to believe. Fluent Financial combines in-house portfolio design and risk management with income-generating investments designed to accelerate your financial independence. Our goal is to develop an effective portfolio strategy to help you retire sooner and have a better lifestyle. Visit fluentfinancial.com.
Mary and I are Crest Cadillac people. For what, about 15 years now?
That's about right. Crest Cadillac XT4. Perfect size, perfect ride for us.
Crest Cadillac at 121 on the Tollway in Frisco now has terrific offers on the Cadillac LYRIQ and the soon-to-be available all-electric Escalade. GM Mike Brusen's team is fantastic to work with. So join Mary and me as
Crest Cadillac people.
For the Dallas Cowboys, this incredibly sad year just keeps getting sadder. It's almost exactly 1 year ago since Green Bay urinated on the Cowboys on their own field in a playoff game. Then Jerry decided he would not give Coach McCarthy or any of his assistants extensions, that they would coach the entire year facing unemployment when the year was over. Then Jerry waited to give Dak his contract. And he waited. And he waited. And he waited. And as usual for Jerry Jones, waiting was dead wrong. He still wound up giving Dak Prescott by $5 million a year, the highest contract in the history of the National Football League, and guaranteed almost every penny of it. And then there was wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, who wanted a new contract and skipped some off-season work and then didn't report to training camp because Jerry waited and waited and waited, and that was again a failure. He wound up giving Lamb $34 million a year, the second highest figure ever to an NFL wide receiver. Free agents left. Jerry did virtually nothing. The Dak and Lamb chemistry early in the season was just not there. But during training camp, Jerry wasn't worried at all about the Dak and Lamb chemistry because, well, he just wasn't worried about it. It would be fine. Injuries started to happen, but not until this club, almost fully healthy at the start of the season, limped out of the gate and then got its fanny shot off a few times, including a 25-point, massively embarrassing loss to the less than mediocre New Orleans Saints. Now, the year's about to end, and Jerry's still waiting. He teases us about a decision regarding head coach Mike McCarthy and his entire staff. This week, Jones gave us some idea of how he's approaching this when he said, he doesn't feel on any unusual timeline to make a decision. So, we wait. What unbelievable arrogance of this man. What unbelievable unbelievable arrogance. He expects McCarthy and his staff to just wait around, sitting there with their hands out, waiting for any small morsel that Jerry can toss them. Waiting while Jerry, the general manager, maybe negotiates another Jake Paul, Mike Tyson debacle. Or waiting while Jerry negotiates another Post Malone and Jelly Roll concert at AT&T Stadium. Or arranges another monster truck rally. Or another WWE extravaganza. What arrogance to assume that everyone must desperately want to work for the Dallas Cowboys. And Jerry, in explaining his decision to have everybody work on one-year contracts that expire in 2 days, said it was his experience that people often do good work when they're on one-year contracts, or in this case, 2 days away from the unemployment line. Exactly when has Jerry Jones in his life ever been 2 days away from an unemployment line? I hope that as the season ends, Coach McCarthy's agent is calling teams with coaching vacancies, asking them if they'd be interested in a terrific veteran head coach. I hope that Mike Zimmer is on the phone somewhere, arranging a new 3-year contract to leave and be the defensive coordinator of somebody else's football team. And I hope that's true of the rest of the staff here also, that they're out there actively looking for jobs and not waiting on Jerry. These coaches, Coach McCarthy himself, the coordinators, they know about the Cowboys going forward. They know they have lots of holes. They know there'll be some nice free agents leaving this team. They know the Cowboys have very little money to spend on veterans to fill the holes on this team, and that they'll have an extraordinarily bloated salary cap going forward. Coach McCarthy deserves better than this. So do his assistants. So do Dallas Cowboy fans. Sunday's the final game of the season, the last day of employment for Coach McCarthy and his staff. Washington is one of the shocking surprise teams in the NFL. Are they more of a surprise, or Minnesota, or the Chargers? Anyway, Washington enters this game looking for its 12th win of the season to finish 12-5. Exactly how the Cowboys finished each of the last 3 years. Dallas, at 7-9, is hoping for a win for a respectable 5-4 finish the last 9 games of the season. Isn't it ironic that Washington is exactly where we thought the Cowboys would be? 11 or 12 wins and waiting to find out who they play in the playoffs. And Dallas is kind of where Washington had hoped to be when the year began, to show some real progress under Dan Quinn, who took over a 4-13 football team last year that allowed the most points in the league and had the worst points differential of any team in the league. Funny what adding a terrific young quarterback through the draft and then signing several solid NFL football players in free agency can do for a team. Is Dan Quinn the coach of the year in the NFL? Or is it Jim Harbaugh of the Chargers, or Dan Campbell of the Lions, or Minnesota's Kevin O'Connell? Quinn succeeds a lot like Campbell is succeeding. He's succeeding on effort and inspiration. And just as he succeeded with the defense in Dallas, he's winning with an incredibly committed football team. This week, Dallas asked the question, will Cooper Rush start this final game, or will we finally see Trey Lance? Coach Big Mac was non-committal. Why? What does it matter? The game doesn't mean a darn thing. Who cares who's starting at quarterback? What difference would one game mean in evaluating Trey Lance? Some people suggest they'd like to get a look at Lance once more before free agency. Why? One game isn't going to make any difference in re-signing him. If Dallas wanted to take a look at Lance, they'd have started playing him weeks ago. Besides, with Dak down, Dallas went immediately to Cooper Rush for 8 games. And that tells us all we need to know about Trey Lance. All we need to know about what the coaching staff thinks of him after seeing him for a year and a half. Also, the Cowboys this week released Zeke Elliott. He asked for a release, so he could try to hook on with another contender in the playoffs. Maybe, well, you should recall that a few weeks ago, we suggested Dallas do this very thing once they were eliminated from postseason consideration. Maybe Zeke can catch on somewhere as a number 3 back who can block and catch. Nice of the Cowboys to do it. And Jerry Jones said some very nice things about Zeke as he went out the front door. But I wonder about something. Why didn't the Cowboys do this with some other vets? Other vets who had more of a chance of catching on with a contending team. Why not with offensive lineman Chuma Edoga? He's pretty solid, and he can back up at guard and tackle. And you can let it be known to Chuma that, hey, you'd be interested in him coming back here next year if he wants to. And do him this favor. Maybe you could talk on with somebody. And the same is true about Brandon Cooks, the wide receiver. Hey, who wouldn't want a healthy Brandon Cooks as their number 4 or 5 receiver going into the playoffs? And doing things like this might be regarded by other veteran players in the league as a kind gesture. And it might help Dallas' reputation just a bit as those guys shop for teams in the offseason. This has been a miserable year for Jerry, for the franchise, for the players, for the fans. But it's over in just 2 days. Then the real work begins in earnest. Trying to put this year's Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial. Retire sooner, better lifestyle. And by Crest Cars. There's good, there's better, and then there's Crest. And by Bob's Steak and Chop House.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering with Norm Hitzges. If you enjoyed what you heard, please hit follow, and a fresh new episode will be delivered to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you know someone who might enjoy our work, please share it with them. I'm Norm Hitzges, and I'm always just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitchkus, and I'm just wondering too.